Hello, my beautiful divine souls and light workers. Today I want to talk about 3D, 4D, and 5D. How this all works, how it fits into our ascension process, and specifically how positive and negative souls, how the dark and the light, how polarity works with the thought of the different dimensions. So, some of this material is new. I have channeled this through the Akashic Records recently, so you may be surprised. So stay tuned till the end, watch till the end. It's really exciting and interesting information. You are divine. Those who are new, I'm Natasha, Cosmic Empress. Welcome to my working space. This is my study. This is where I work. This is where I plan my courses that I will be releasing hopefully this year. I've been working on them, and yeah, this is where I feel good and do all my session work. So if you're interested in a private session before these courses come out, you will get explanations on this whiteboard that I'm using today for us. I do work in the Akashic Records, reading, clearing, healing work. I talk about your starseed origins. I look at your past lives, at your past life cycles, and see what you need to clear. All right, but coming back to today. Today we're talking about 3D, 4D, 5D, and about the polarity of existence, of what we are experiencing right now. So, let's say this is our earth that we are walking upon, okay? And obviously we are still in the third dimension. Now I know that the timelines are splitting. We are ascending into the fourth and into the fifth dimension. We're going up, right? We're ascending, I would say fourth density or fifth dimension, depending on your frame of reference. So right now we are still in 3D. Now, for the sake of visuals, let's say this is 4D, okay, 4D. And up here is 5D, the fifth dimension. And so basically what happens is right now for us, we are like a human being in the third dimension, a physical being, living our divine experience, our soul experience. So our soul came down to join with a human body. And we're actually now two in one. We're a soul and a body together, living our human experience as us, who we are. Okay. Now, the fourth dimension is kind of like an in-between place. That's how I see it. The fourth dimension is the place of the mind. It's the astral realm. It's where we go in dream time. It's like a transitional place between the third and the fifth dimension. So it's not actually a place that we live or we would want to live in any way or form, right? This is what we have to pass through. We do have to pass through that in order to get to 3D. So it's kind of like a pathway, all right? Okay. Now, the interesting thing is we're talking now about 3D, 4D, and 5D. But as you see, there is something that I drew down here. There is something here. So we are basically talking about the positive polarity, the polarity of light, or the polarity of good. Yes, we're going to name polarities because I know that in the spiritual community, there is a lot of discussion about, no, there is no good and bad. Everything just is. But I disagree, because we as human beings in the third dimension are experiencing good and bad, evil, hell and heaven. We're experiencing pain and suffering and positive emotions and love and light. We are experiencing this. And every experience is valid and real and true. And so our experience as third dimensional human beings, the souls living this human experience, our experience is very valid and it is true for us, so it exists. The same with linear time. We experience time as linear, so it exists because it is our experience. Why should only fifth, sixth, seventh dimensional beings have valid experiences? Saying, oh, there's no polarity, everything is neutral, everything is one. I will get to that later, but I'm saying that in the third dimension and lower, there is polarity, and we are living it. And saying there isn't polarity would be negating our experience, would be saying, oh, everything is good, everything is fine, you're suffering, whatever you're going through is fine. It's not, and it's a valid experience for us. So what happens here? This is what happens here. This is how I see it, what was channeled to me. This from here up to here, right? It's positive. So I would call it plus 3D, plus 4D, plus 5D. And this is basically the experience of positive souls. Positive souls. Okay? So positive souls have access and are experiencing this part of existence, the 3D, the positive 4D, the positive 5D. Okay, now the definition of a positive soul is the following. A positive soul is basically a soul that has an umbilical cord up to Creator Source. There is a connection, a divine God spark, a divine umbilical cord where we receive life force energy. Our soul is connected, all right? So when our soul comes down to the human body, that connection remains intact. And that's why we are positive souls, because we receive life force energy from God Creator Source. Now, a negative soul who's also walking on the earth, okay, is a negative soul because this doesn't exist. It does not exist. They are not connected. They are not connected to their divinity. They are not connected to higher realms, angels, guides, God. They don't have that God spark. They don't have that connection, and they need to receive life force from other beings, from other souls, from other people. Okay, so that is the difference. So a negative soul has no resource to connect to life force energy from the light, from God, from Creator Source, right? Negative souls. So that is the definition. Now, there are souls which are pretty negative, but not 100% negative. That means that they receive a little bit, just a little bit of life force from Creator Source, but not a lot. And they receive more and more from other people. So you see, this is what happens. So the narcissists, the negative people, the people who are drawing energy from others are the ones who are negative. And the more negative they get, the more they rely on life force energy from others. And once they become 100% negative souls, that's it. They're cut off. There is no connection, and they need to gain energy from others. Okay, so what happens actually now? What happens now? So this is us in our life, merged with a soul, living and walking on Mother Gaia, right here. So what happens though when the body ceases to exist, when we die? What happens then? Where do we go? Well, it's actually quite simple. We move, our soul goes back up. If we're a positive soul, we go back up. We move through here, and we are again in a higher dimension in our pure form. Then we decide to go into another incarnation, and we zoom down to Earth, and we join then with another body. And we become another soul having a human experience, and we do this lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That means that as positive souls, we have access to 4D, positive 4D, and these are also the astral realms, the higher astral realms. So this is basically where more positive beings of light reside. Then, or they move through there. We have access to 5D, where we basically go after our body ceases to exist, where our higher self is, where basically angels and guides are, and they exist in these realms. Now, what happens when a negative soul ceases to exist? Okay, now I'm actually I actually did this for a reason. So I split the earth in two just for a visual, and this is kind of like the negative side. This is more like the negative side of 3D. So this is someone who is living in a more negative and negative way, who is receiving more and more life force from only others. They begin to make more and more negative choices, because you cannot make a positive choice if you're receiving life force from another being, because it's not a divine energy. You need the divine energy to make positive choices for yourself, right? So they receive more and more energy from others, make more and more negative choices, and experience life in a more negative polarity. That's why it's minus 3D. So the negative souls are basically here. They're upside down now, but living on Earth in a very negative polarity, right? So what happens when these souls, when the body dies? What happens to the soul? Where do they go? That's the big question. Now, I can tell you where they go. Do they go up here? Obviously not, because they don't have this connection. What actually exists, you have the minus 4D. These are the negative or lower astral realms. Lower because the vibration is lower. Higher because the vibration is higher. So when these souls leave their body, when the body dies, they go through, still with this here, this is still the access point. Let's say this is the access point, right? This is the access point into 3D, which is like this is like a transition area where both positive and negative souls can be. This is the transition area. They go through here to Earth, and they go into a body and incarnate. So when they leave, they exit. And where do they go? And this is what I found out. You actually have a negative 5D. As above, so below. So minus 5D is actually a negative 5th dimension. You know, we have 60, 70, 80. What happens here? You have minus 5D, minus 60, minus 70. You have everything that exists in the positive higher dimensions of love and light also exists in the negative polarity. Okay, and this is what we traditionally call, yes, hell. So where do the negative souls go after their body dies? They go through the negative astral realms. Some hang around here maybe, some hang around here, and then they end up in minus 5D. So this is where it gets darker and darker. As this gets lighter and lighter, the vibrations, when you go from 3D to 4D to 5D, 60, 70, we know that those are very high vibrational dimensions and places and planets and beings. It gets lighter. Here, it gets denser and denser and denser, and the polarity goes more and more to the negative, to the dark, to the dense. Okay, and I'm specifically using those words because we as 3D humans experience it that way. We experience pain, hellishness, nightmares. We know the different levels of the dark, basically, and this is what happens here. This is what happens here. So this is very dense. So these negative souls are here. And when we talk about the negative soul groups, we've talked about the draconians. We've talked about other souls who choose to become negative throughout their life cycles. Like I was saying, more and more negative choices. Then finally that God spark gets cut off and these souls become completely negative. And what happens when they become negative? They cannot go here. So this is what we call heaven. The 5th dimension. That's heaven. It is, okay? Heaven. They're just different names for different places and things. So the religions, the old religions, heaven, nirvana, they did have it right. And we call it our soul's home or our life between lives. And that happens in 5D or higher. And the higher you go, the more light there is, the less polarity there is. And that's why we say there's no polarity up here. Because there isn't. Because the negative beings are not able. They're not able to move past this zone here. This zone in the 4th dimension, in between lives there, when their souls kind of go out of body at nighttime when you travel. The negative souls cannot go beyond here. This is like the buffer zone where both negative and positive souls are. So when you go into dream time, you have access to either nightmares, that means you're trapped in the astral realms, you're making negative encounters, or you have beautiful dreams and you connect to your higher self in dream time. But this is a tricky place. This right here, my friends, is a tricky place. This red zone, because this is the zone where positives and negatives both exist. This is the astral realm, positive and negative, right? So the angels and the negative souls, the higher realms and the lower realms, they can both be here. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, beings from the higher realms could go down here, but why would they? Like, we want to stay away from this. So when we have nightmares, when we are trapped, when we have false teachers and guides, okay, I'm just going to put little devil horns here. All right. When we have false teachers, when we have demons, right? Demons and all those negative beings that are not even souls, discarnate beings that are negative, they hang out in the lower astral realms, but they can access this part where we go in dream time, where we go when we leave our body, go back up. So there is like a danger zone where the positive and the negative live. All right. And that is the problem, because that's where we can get stuck. That's where they can get access to us. And of course, Earth is a melting pot, positive and negative, positive and negative. It's a melting pot. Okay. You can be on the negative side and experience trauma, pain, all these horrifying things. You can be on the positive side on Earth and experience that. And that is the high risk experience of planet Earth. All right. Planet Earth is a high risk place where positive and negative souls, that's the epitome of polarity. That's where everything converges. The positive, the negative, the light and the dark, trauma, good experiences, bad experiences. And that's why a three-dimensional planet is really hard. That's why you, as a beautiful soul and light worker, having said yes, I'm going to go down to that planet where there's the good and the bad, where there's high risks that something can happen to me. I'm going to go down there. That's why you are very brave. And that's why you have a huge, beautiful, heavenly team of light at your back, because they're not here. They're up there in 5D, 6D, where there's no polarity, where these negatives don't have access to them. They're up there. And that's why you have a team of spirit guides, of higher guides, of angels, of masters, of councils. Because I mean, look at this. Look at this here. This is like dropping into a war zone. You see how chaotic this is already? This is like you drop down to Earth. And this is absolutely like dropping into the most dangerous place that you can imagine, right? Because up here, the negatives, the polarity of the dark does not have access to you. Only once you drop into 3D. And basically the evolution of every planet has to go through all the dimensions. So as we are ascending, our planet is ascending. And I will explain this exactly with the ascension process in another video, right? But this is basically to let you know what's going on. So what happens is, the more powerful and the more dark and the more dense a soul, the deeper they have access to the dimensions and the more powerful they get. And this is kind of what I channeled as I was going on these journeys with my good friend Sarrah Chapman. Check out her channel. I'll link her below. She's amazing. So as we go deeper, you start to get more and more power and influence of the dark polarity, the negative polarity. And that's where it goes all the way down to what we perceive as the devil, okay? Like the big bad one. All right. So I feel that as you go up, you know, you get more and more light. You get more and more light beings. Light beings are more and more powerful, have more influence over creation, up to God, creator source. And here it's the same thing. Here there is more and more density, all the way down here to hell, to the devil, to the most strong demonic force. So, you know, all the stories about heaven and hell, God and the devil, that whole polarity, that is actually true. It's just seen in a different way. And now we have the opportunity to see this a little more clearly and how it actually works. So, a negative soul group, right? For example, the Draconians. The Draconians, they're an inherently negative soul group. And I think they're probably the most powerful ones that I have seen and found so far. So they are very powerful down here. So the whole collective negative, most dense energy of the Draconians make what I would call the devil, or the pit of hell, so to say. You can really see it that way because they're very powerful. We know that they have been able to go throughout the universe and compromise a lot of planets, including Hadar. I made a video on that, including planet Earth. And so planet Earth in the last, I would say, couple of thousand years has been under heavy influence from the negative dimensions, having a lot of influence here, because let's just say the negative part of life is this and the positive part of life is this, and the Draconians have really crept into all aspects of life on Earth, put themselves into positions of power, and have really tried to stop the Earth from ascending. Each planet that is born, that is formed, wants to ascend and has a natural ascension process, and they know that once Mother Gaia and her people ascend up here, they will not have access. They can't incarnate anymore. It's not possible because they cannot exist in a higher vibration than the third dimension. All right, and that is the trick. The negative vibrations of 3D is where the negative soul groups have most influence. So you as a divine being coming from God, creator, source, with all those resources, you have to live every day in the highest vibration possible so that the negative beings and entities and energies do not have access to you. That's why I drew this. I hope this is making sense, guys. That's why I drew this part. So the more positive choices you make, the higher your vibration is. The higher you are here. Oh, my pens are all running out. The higher you are here, right? The less the negatives can have access to you. I mean, they're living in a physical place that is the same as you. We are all living here. But as your vibration raises, as you get more empowered as a soul, the less likely it is that they can actually harm you. The less likely it is, because their vibration is low and their vibration will not match yours. There is still a risk. Okay, the best, most high vibrational people still have stuff happen to them. But the more you're empowered and the more you make positive choices for yourself, the less likely it is that something bad happens to you, because the negative souls do not have access to you anymore. They can't latch on. You have to really make a mistake or let up or let yourself drop very, very far down in a negative emotional cycle. You have to really let your vibrations spiral down very low. And we know how the vibrations work by now. We know. Love is right in the middle at 500. If you look at, David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, in the very lowest vibrations is shame, fear, all those negative emotions. As we go up towards neutrality, as we go up to more empowerment, then to love. When you're vibrating at love, it's very unlikely that really, truly negative beings can get a hold of you and can do something to you, can traumatize you or bring you into a negative cycle again. Once you start vibrating at higher and higher levels and make positive choices and stand in your power, the less likely that negative souls will be able to access you. Also, positive souls that still are connected, that are making negative choices, that are becoming more and more negative, those are the ones that impact us a lot as well. Also, souls that are very positive but that are also, you know, relying still a lot on drawing energy from others may impact us. And that's why if you are an empath, it means that you have let your boundaries open too wide, that these negative energies can still impact you. So it's always up to you. You cannot say, oh, I'm so susceptible. You got to empower yourself. Put up your boundaries, make better choices, say no. That's really, really important. So hopefully all of you are somewhere here at the higher vibrational levels where these negatives cannot access you anymore. The problem is now that Mother Gaia is moving like this. You can imagine this like, she's moving up into the 5th dimension, right? And as she's moving, all these negative beings are like, oh, no, 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 we want to pull you down. They start attacking positive leaders. They start attacking and really trying to pull down the most positive people who are making an impact in this world, because they don't want Mother Gaia to ascend, because what are they going to do? If our planet and us are at a high vibration, what's going to happen with the negative souls, or the ones who are predominantly negative? They will not be able to incarnate anymore. They can't come back. It's not possible. Once Mother Gaia has truly moved into that 5th dimensional paradigm, how can a negatively oscillating soul incarnate? It's not possible, because you see, the access point 4D here will be gone, because this planet will be high in the 5th dimension, and that means that the polarity falls away. The polarity falls away. Everything will be different. And all this here, all this going on, this negative stuff, the hellish negative vibrational places, they're going to have to either stay there and not incarnate anymore, or they're going to have to find another place to incarnate. They're just going to have to find another 3D planet or another place where they can access an incarnation and a body and a place to actually have a vibrational match. Okay, so that is really important to know. And I have a few more videos that I want to make about exactly how we are ascending, how the ascension process works, and the splitting of the timelines. And also, I want to talk about how it's even possible that negative souls are able to incarnate in a human body that was designed to be divine. Okay? Our divine matrix, the light codes, the divine blueprint of our Mother Earth and of us humans is one of light. All right? We were made to live in this place. We were not made to live here. We were not made to have negative souls incarnate as humans. The divine matrix is a beautiful matrix or a blueprint of positivity and light. Okay, so keep tuned for the next videos I'm going to make. I'm going to continue with this explanation, because it's really important that you understand where you are, that you can empower yourself, and that you do not start making negative choices, that you do not get into the role of the victim and lower your vibration, that you don't stay just in, you know, dark negative cycles and say, oh, I can't. You have to make an effort, and this is your work as a divine being. This is your work as a divine being. You have to make an effort to raise your vibration high, so you do not have access, or they have not access to you as a soul. The negatives won't have access. And it is your job to do this. It's your job to do your spiritual work every day, to see how you can become the best version of yourself every day. This year, I think I've done a lot of work. This year I was psychically attacked a lot. I was really drawn into very negative cycles a lot, but it's my own fault, because I let myself get down, be affected, let up a little bit. And that's why this is such a high risk planet. You let up a little bit and boom, you know, big repercussions happen. You let up a little bit and boom, the negatives get you. So you really have to do your spiritual work. You really just have to do the best you can. And every little bit that you do helps to really get away from the negative influence. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. Here's another look on my on my somewhat chaotic picture here, but I hope this really makes sense, because what we want to be here. We want to be on top. We want to be at a very high vibration, that these negative influences, these entities, these energies cannot touch us anymore. And the more people are on top here, the faster Mother Gaia will ascend. So we have reached that. More are on top. There's more people on the positive half than on the negative half. They're walking a positive path. They are more than 50% service to other. This is service to self. This is negative choices. This is leeching energy from others. And we have more than 50% of humankind here. That means it's like we can go up. If we have more here, then we would maybe slowly go down into hell. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing in the past few thousands of years. I would say our planet has gotten very heavy into low vibrations with a lot of what's been going on in the history of mankind. But now we've managed to pull ourselves up, and the more work you do on yourself, the more positive you are, the faster Mother Gaia will be able to ascend with us into the fifth dimension and leave the negativity behind. Okay. Okay, please let me know down in the comments if you like this style of teaching, if you like the little diagrams and the explanations, because I plan on filming a few more videos about our ascension process like this, as I mentioned. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys, my beautiful divine souls, and please make positive decisions for yourself, because I want to see you up there. I want to see you up here. I want to see you in the ascension path. I want to see you there and say, hey, yeah, let's go up together. Okay, great. Thank you. Love you all. Natasha, Cosmic Empress.